2 adults in the classroom. So just do the math there. 1 to 2 year olds, you're gonna have 1 to 3, 1 adult for every 3. 3 through pre-K, you're gonna have 1 adult for every 4. K-5, 1 to 5. 6 to 8 year olds, you're gonna have 1 to 6, and 9 to 14 year olds, 1 to 8, and then you have maximum group sizes. Most of us, if we had 26 4th to 6th graders, would be jumping up and down thrilled to death. So. All right, these are some other considerations. These are things that I guess are optional, but maybe things that you want to consider. The first one is contagious illnesses. If somebody has thrown up, had a fever, pink eye, whatever, green, runny nose, whatever, for the last, diarrhea, yeah, the last 24 hours, please keep their child at home and remind the leaders that is them to please stay home. You'd be amazed how many people in the goodness of their heart just, show up anyway, and it's not so smart. Universal sanitation standards. That's how you make sure that you glove up before you change a diaper, that you use wax paper, that you. I go into a lot of churches and they'll have a sheet on the diaper changing station. You don't want that. You want vinyl or something so that you can take some kind of sanitizer and clean it between diaper changes. So, you can have those things posted. If there is a spill, a bodily fluid spill, even something like, even if you wipe a child's nose, you really should glove up. Or you should at least wash your hands with, follow procedures for washing your hands before you do that. If a toy's been mouthed by a child, it needs to be cleaned before it's given to another child. So, all those kind of, what if a child wets the floor or gets sick? So you have it have it stated what the person's supposed to do. Most people will go along just fine with what you say, but they need to know what to do. You may want to have an accident reporting form. Diaper changing, we just talked about. Bathroom assistance. Again, you never be alone in a bathroom with a child. The church that I came from, because it had been formerly youth area, it had the bathrooms, with multi-stalls, and they weren't the individual classroom bathrooms. And occasionally I would have to help a child. That door to the main room always stayed open, and if I was helping a child get on a potty or whatever, I told people my fanny was hanging out that stall door. Somebody knew I was there. I was not in the stall with the door closed or locked. Fire, natural disaster plans, you may want to have that in your policy or at least have them posted. First aid responses, hot beverages and food in the classroom. Hot beverages, you'd be amazed. There was a Starbucks close to us and these people would come in. I'm like, no. And I said it right here, and you can have it when you go out. Because you think about McDonald's and Starbucks and some of these places that superheat coffee. The last thing you want is that in a classroom with children. Can you imagine what would happen if they accidentally knocked that over?
What is your view on allowing parents to come into the classroom, especially the smaller kids? Do you stop them at the door and let them hand off the kid, or are you allowing people to come in?
It depends. Think about it this way. Again, especially infants and 1s and 2s that play on the floor. The more people that come in with their shoes onto the floor, whatever's in the parking lot is now on the carpet. It's like you're letting them play on the ground. And so there's wisdom in limiting it that way. That is a sort of an acceptable way for parents to be told, sorry, don't come in. The big thing is whatever you do it consistently. Now there may be, my daughter was a clinger till she was like 1st grade. And they would, it was better for somebody to take and just peel her off and then walk away. But there are some kids that they need that parent to come in for a time or two. There are parents who need to come in for a time or two. But, you just gradually help them understand that this is not in the best interest of the child. And some of that is just being graceful. you know, if their child's crying, this drives me crazy. There are some parents who would come in the room and they would stay until their child cried before they would leave. So, because they needed that gratification that their child was going to miss them. I mean, that didn't happen often, but it happened enough that I remember it. And then there are just those kids who really need that security. But what we found, and this is a matter of training, what we found with parents is if they came into the classroom, it was really hard for some of these kids for them to back out. It was almost easier to meet them at the door. And once they had a couple of weeks of realizing that that was in the best interest of their child, they went along with it.
And it's hard to promote consistency if
Right.
you stop some at the door and then the others
Right.
are allowed to walk in. So-
And that's where, if it's written in your policy that this is what we're going to do, then the parents see that up front and they go in prepared to do that. So, but again, you know, you're not gonna be so legalistic about it that if there is a kid who really needs that, you're not gonna allow it. And if the child's screaming, most parents are gonna be thankful that it's not them and drop them off and leave anyway, so. All right, prompt pickup by the parents. Help parents understand that your leaders, especially if they're serving in Sunday school and they're getting ready for the next hour, if parents don't come pick up their kids, then these teachers can't get to choir or worship practice or even to the service. Because these parents just really are kind of, you hate to say rude, but just are inconsiderate. I know I had one set of parents that consistently did not come get their kids. And everybody else is gone and their kids, where's my mommy? And I would walk them upstairs and I got to the point where it's like I would walk up and I would look at her. You know, the kids would run to her and all, and there was no, it was just look. But you want parents to understand that emotionally for their child, it's hard on their child when they don't come pick them up and everybody else is gone. They wonder why mom didn't come pick them up. I mean, this is really the best interest of the child. You want to mark personal items such as bottles, blankets, and diaper bags. Now, this doesn't seem like a big deal until you have to call a parent and tell them that a volunteer gave their child somebody else's breast milk. That is not a call you want to make. So, believe me. And so it's great if you can stress to parents the importance of marking personal items, and if they don't, use some masking tape or whatever and mark these items. Other considerations, no medications can be given by teachers. That includes like diaper ointment. If a parent wants ointment put on their child during a diaper change, then they need to come change the diaper. Allergies. How is your church going to handle a child that has a food allergy that carries an EpiPen? Those things need to be, I would take a picture of the child and put it on a piece of paper and say, you know, peanut allergy, nut allergy, whatever. One way that we reduce the chance of that being a problem is we serve the same snack every week. And if a teacher was going to do something special, like a Bible Times food or whatever, it was posted. You know, if you do the electronic check-in system, you can put it in where it prints up the allergy. Older siblings in the classroom with a supervising parent, this can become a hot button, believe me. Sometimes those older siblings are more of a problem than the kids who are in the class. And so if you have it written down, the older siblings are not allowed in the class, and that, you know, they can sit with a pew buddy or another parent or whatever, then everybody's got the same rule. Because the last thing you want is for a 4th or 5th grader to pick up a 2-year-old or a 1-year-old and drop them and that child get hurt. Your church is in trouble. So it's just better to have a policy that no older siblings are allowed in the classroom. What curriculum and teaching standards do you expect? Shared space issues, again, that can be a hot button issue if you have a weekday preschool or organizations sharing space. Who can use what resources in the room or whatever. Use of the facility by outside groups, do you allow outside groups? If they do they have to have volunteers that have been screened, you know, that kind of thing? And, but do you have other considerations that you think other people in the room would appreciate knowing about or thinking about? I know I had not thought about it until I sat down tonight, is this issue of the concealed carry permit. Are guns gonna be allowed in your preschool area, your children's area? What happens if a gun is in a teacher's pocketbook and a child gets hold of it?
Take it away from them.
Well,
Time out.
you're really time. But, that's when you put the teacher in timeout. But,
For sure.
but those are things for you to consider. If you're gonna allow guns on your property, are you gonna allow guns in your preschool area? Are you gonna allow guns in your children's area? If so, is there gonna be a requirement that they're locked in a certain area? Are they gonna be allowed in the classroom? Those are just things that you need to consider in your church, which 3 years ago we didn't. All right, say that there is an allegation of abuse in your church. What in the world are you going to do? You want to be proactive. And so, first thing you have to understand, North Carolina is a must-report state. There is no pastoral exemption. If a pastor knows about it, they must report. And you need to report within the first 24 hours that you receive the allegation.
I have a question about that.
Yeah.
So is that if an incident happened at the church? Or does that also include if a family comes to you and says, listen, we had an incident in our family recently, like, you know, just a month ago with another family member, and we all go to this church. It didn't happen at church.
It doesn't matter.
Okay.
If you know, you must report.
Okay, now,
Anywhere, any
I want
place.
to further that.
Okay.
What if it was one-sided? One person said, this other person did this, my child said they did this, but there was never anything they did.
That's for the law to figure out.
But do you report it?
Yes.
Okay.
If there is an allegation of abuse, you must report, and then the law will sort out the rest. We'll do the investigation, and that's where, whether it's true or not, will come out. You can report to DSS or to the police. One of the things that you may want to consider is to create a response team in the event that something happens. Part of that response team is you're going to have a media spokesperson. This is the only person who is going to be designated to speak to the media. You know, they love to find the person with, you know, no front teeth and a beer belly and curlers in their hair, and that's who they're going to report. But your church needs to understand that there is one person who is designated to speak about this incident if anybody's going to do it. Be it the pastor or somebody, a deacon, there is a designated spokesperson. Stress confidentiality to anybody on this team. You want to offer a caring response and take the allegation seriously. For one thing, how you manage those first interactions with the person is going to be crucial to the possible outcome, especially if it happens at your church for future litigation, whether or not they take it into litigation. If you take this seriously and you handle it well, you offer compassion, you take it seriously, you offer to pay for counseling. I'm not saying you're not going to get sued, but it's going to minimize the possibility that you get sued. Because if you make that person mad, they're going to want retribution, and that comes at the hands of the court. If this person is a church volunteer or a staff member, they are removed immediately from service until the allegation is settled. I've heard of stories where youth pastors have been accused and they did not take them out of service and they abused again. And that church may as well put a for sale sign in their yard. So you want to take those allegations seriously. And don't hear that I'm saying this is all about preventing getting sued. This is about preventing, a person's life from being damaged irreparably. This is about protecting the children and youth in your church from harm. I think we are accountable if we don't take steps. Document allegations in response to the church. Whatever you say, whatever you do, write it down. Contact your insurance company first off, because they have resources to help you walk through this process. Because ultimately, it's gonna come out of their pocket if there's any kind of payout. And so they do have a dog in the fight. So call them early, and then offer support of professional counseling. Got any questions, comments?
Getting the insurance company involved, wouldn't that just give them a loophole to get out of paying anything, should they be liable for it? Because it's gonna be
Give
like,
them a
well, we're gonna
loophole.
give you a list of stuff that we know your church is not gonna be able to do 100% of that. Then when your church only does 99% of that, well, we're not paying you.
Our church over at Western Road is just